First, Iran will not be able to pursue a bomb using plutonium because it will not develop weapons-grade plutonium. The core of its reactor at Arak will be dismantled and replaced. The spent fuel from that facility will be shipped out of Iran for the life of the reactor. Iran will not build a new heavy water reactor, and Iran will not reprocess fuel from its existing reactors, ever.
That, of course, President Obama going a little bit deeper into what he thinks we're going to accomplish in this agreement with Iran. Joining us now to talk a little bit more about that and some other of his interesting articles from this week, we have Brent Budowsky, who is with The Hill, one of my favorite go-tos every day, and a former aide to Senator Lloyd Bentsen. Brent, how are you?
Pleasure to be here again.
So you've had something to say from your point of view on what's going to happen here with this Iran deal. Why don't we start with that? What do you think?
Well, first of all, it remains to be seen whether they can get the fine print by the end of June. Assuming they do, I think it's a good deal. It did better than most people think. It got strong verification, intrusive activities by the inspectors going all over Iran into all of their different sites to inspect it to make sure they don't cheat. They're going to cut back dramatically on their centrifuges. They'll be down to 5,000 to 6,000 as opposed to 10,000 to 15,000 that they otherwise would have been at, and going upwards. And the bottom line is this, and everybody should make no mistake about this. I actually did Saudi television right before I came here, and I said the same thing to the Saudis. If Iran cheats, they will be caught. If they cheat and they are caught, they will be attacked, and there will not be nuclear weapons one way or the other. I hope the Iranians are wise enough to know that, but we're not trusting them. We don't trust them. We're trusting our verification. We're trusting the provisions that are very intrusive, that allow us to go in there and watch them like hawks. And we're trusting our military's capability to react quickly if it turns out they are caught cheating, which they will be if they try to cheat.
So, Brent, I set you up there. Now I'm turning you over to Betsy McCoy, who's going to disagree with everything you just said. I'm warning you.
Well, I'd like to ask you what I think are some pretty interesting questions. And the first is that when the president began this process well over a year ago, he said his goal was to prevent Iran from getting a nuclear weapon. Now it appears that he's moved the goalpost, and his goal is to have a year between the conclusion of this agreement and when they could have a nuclear weapon. What's your view on that? Because certainly that's Israel's major concern.
Now, actually, the relevance of the year is that if they try to cheat, they will be caught well before a year. And from the time we catch them, to put it bluntly, we will have the time to bomb them, to make sure they don't get away with cheating. That's the relevance of the year. The agreement is more 10 to 15 years. The inspections will begin very quickly. The verification will begin very quickly. And so right now, most of the intelligence experts who are publicly quoted will say they could do it in 3 to 4 months if they went all out without any kind of an agreement. This says the least they could do it if they cheat across the board is 1 year. And that'll give us plenty of time with all the inspectors, with all the verification, to catch them and bomb them so they don't get the bomb.
Brent, what do you say to people, and there's obviously no shortage of people who are claiming that there's like zero chance that we can count on Iran to honor the deal, and also don't believe that we'll be able to verify that they'll play hide the bombs from any of the inspectors who we might hope could catch them? What do you say to those people?
No, I don't agree that there's zero chance they'll honor it. I do agree if they can try to get away with it, they probably will. But I think the verification, the inspections are strong enough that they'll get caught.
What are you basing that on? I mean, I've read the 4-page document. I didn't see anything that would lead me to conclude or not conclude that we've got some kind of a system all of a sudden that will make the verification process work. What are you basing that on?
Well, I'm basing that on the fact that the Iranians have agreed, contrary to what most people predicted, by the way, they have agreed to have on-site inspections of every single site anywhere in the country where there's any chance that they could have and develop any of these nuclear weapons. So there's no guarantee in this world. But we now have a level of oversight, a level of verification, a level of inspection everywhere, anywhere in Iran that our inspectors are worried that they think they could cheat. or that they have suspicions that they are cheating.
Brent, if it's such a good deal, why is the president so reluctant to submit it to Congress for their approval?
Well, I think, first of all, that there are two levels of this.
Brent, do that quickly because we got to take a quick break.
The president can do certain things by executive order for up to 2 years on a limited basis. The short answer to your question, though, to go further, is this Republican Congress is hell-bent to oppose and destroy no matter what he does.
Brent,
and
let me interrupt you because we're keeping you with us for another segment.
Right.
So we'll give you a chance to answer that some more when we come back. Good?
Sure.
Okay, then up next, we're coming back with more of Brent Budowsky right here on the Malzberg Show. Don't go anywhere. Back with more Brent Budowsky, terrific writer from The Hill magazine. If you don't read The Hill, you ought to be if you want to know what's going on every day. Brent, we've been talking about Iran in the last segment. You know, there's something that did occur to me. I read your articles, and you tend to be very hawkish on a lot of different world issues. Why are you taking a decidedly non-hawkish point of view when it comes to our suggested agreement with the Iranians?
Well, first of all, just our audience who's seen me before knows this. I have supported 15,000 ground troops to kill ISIS, including Americans, Europeans, and some Arab League. And on Putin, I have supported comprehensive and sweeping sanctions, and I supported lethal defensive aid to the government of Ukraine, and I refer to him in columns as the neo-Soviet strongman. So I'm no dove on many of these things. I think I'm taking a pretty tough position on Iran. I'm just trying to achieve it through a diplomatic agreement with intense and aggressive verification, so we will catch them if they cheat, which I definitely believe they might. I'm not in any way naive about this, and I don't think John Kerry or Obama is either. What I think would be a mistake would be to unilaterally walk away from the talks, and I think this is where Netanyahu was wrong. The alternative to a negotiated solution is war. If the sanctions so far have not been enough, and I'm hoping they have, and it will be tested, if it hadn't been enough, more sanctions won't matter. Without an agreement, they'll try to advance nuclear weapons as fast as they can. And my position has always been, if they do that, there will be war, and it will be certainly airstrikes that I would personally support if it comes to that. So I'm not taking a weak position. It's how do we get to that place? Right now, my problem in Washington is I can't get anybody to support a few thousand ground troops to kill ISIS terrorists that behead Americans. They don't even want to do that. And in my view, that ought to be an easy call. I can't get people to support lethal aid to the government of Ukraine against Putin. And that should be an easy call. So our problem is getting anybody in the United States to agree to anything that has any force. There is almost a neo-isolationism that troubles me. And I opposed the Iraq war from the beginning that Bush and Cheney started, but I'm pretty darn tough on Putin, and I really want to kill ISIS. I don't just say I want to kill them. And on Iran, I want to prevent them, preferably through an agreement, if not through a military attack, from getting nuclear weapons. They must never be allowed, one way or the other, to have nuclear weapons. End of discussion, period.
Well, I really like that, Brent. Now, let me ask you one more question about that, which is Congress is very committed to flexing its muscles, and it has authority over international commerce. So it can not only keep these sanctions in place, but actually make them a lot tougher on Iran if it opposes this deal. So what would you suggest that Obama do to win over some support for this deal in the Congress?
Well, one thing I would definitely suggest is they have ready to pull the trigger on a much tougher sanctions bill, to pull the trigger if and when there is any doubt, any hesitation about whether Iran is reneging against the agreement. I think that's what I would do. I would be ready. But beyond that, my advice, and I've advised people in the administration, I've advised Democrats, and even a Republican or two, I would say what I just said to you. If the Iranians break the agreement and try to develop nuclear weapons, the only answer is an attack. It's military, it's aggressive, it's quick, it's decisive. They will not have nuclear weapons under any circumstances. I would rather we achieve it diplomatically. I think we want to have all guns loaded and all triggers ready to pull if there is a trace of evidence that they cheat, which they might, but it's also in their interest if they want to avoid a depression in Iran and having their own people rise up against them. with the depression that they're going to have if the sanctions keep going and get worse and there is a conflict. I think we want to make them come to their senses and do what they think is in their interest. But make no mistake, if there is going to be cheating leading to nuclear weapons, we don't need a year to know what we have to do. And we have to end it once and for all. If it takes bombs, that's what we should do. But I'd rather we do it diplomatically
Isn't
if
it
we
true
can.
that we only got to this point because Iran cheated?
No, the agreement that we have been working under for the last couple of years froze them from advances that they had made prior to that. I mean, I could go way back, which I'm not going to at length, to Reagan and the arms for contras and the Iran arms sales and stuff like that. That both parties and a number of presidents deserve some responsibility for what happened. But that began before Obama came into office. Obama's the one that pushed the tough sanctions, and John Kerry in particular. Obama's the one that is finally drawing the line. And my advice is what Republicans do, and Democrats on the Hill, is work with him now until there's evidence, and in return, if there is evidence that they cheat, then we make it clear that what we will do, they will not like. And it will be deadly, and it will be tough, because we won't let them get nuclear weapons no matter what it takes. Preferably diplomacy, but if not, military.
So, Brent, I wanted to switch gears and talk about your article, Right-Wing Gay Rights and O-Care, but we ran out of time, so we'll do that next time. Coming up next, senior congressional correspondent of the Washington Examiner, David Drucker, joins us. Stay with us.